Then Dr. Call would say words that would put Billy in a trance. And when he came out of the trance, he was a different personality.
Pow. In my body, there are multiple people living. Each of them also suffers from dissociative identity disorder. Their alters suffer from it too. Many have multiplied by schizophrenia. And even the personalities of my personalities suffer from it. And matryoshka doll ad infinitum. Who exactly said that? Paul, I suggest we call it a day with a prelude, since there has been a man diagnosed like this.
William Stanley Milligan hit worldwide fame after dodging prison for a crime he absolutely committed. After the rape of 3 women in Ohio, 1978, the campus rapist was caught. Psychiatrists diagnosed him with multiple personality disorder linked to severe childhood abuse, and the court ruled him not guilty, since there were 24 separate people living in Billy's body, each with their own knowledge, skill trees, age, and sense of appearance. Only one of them committed the felony.
I can barely cobble together one personality, and it's IKEA furniture. Yet there are psyches out there. It's wild that virtually everybody buys it without an analysis. Well, Billy blew up only after turning criminal. If he'd stayed legal, he still would have remained a nobody adored. At the age of 20, he dropped, secretly making out gays on the street at night. In 1975, he knocks over a pharmacy and scores himself a 2-year vacation behind bars. Not a single word about other personalities. No sooner is he out than he escalates to raping 3 women. We all understand that's not a 5D chess move, that's barely 2D checkers, and I'm insulting checkers. I'm not here to pass judgment. There is a judge. Milligan, awaiting his trial, undergoes a psychological examination and gets acute schizophrenia max, or an actor resume.
He found out who was cobbling shoes for me at night. Turns out I have severe schizophrenia.
But that's a false diagnosis. His stage is entered by Dr. Cornelia B. Wilbur, therapy world's rock star. She understands it. Billy's in trouble. There is a Billy Buffett of personalities. A minority of therapists believed in this at that time, but exactly these psychiatrists were in a decisive position. Years earlier, Dr. Cornelia Wilbur had a successful experience with the legendary Sybil and her 16 personalities in one body, hence the best-selling book nationwide of the same name.
Let him come out so at least I can see what he's like.
I was scared. It's all right. You remember me, Billy. You remember me. You don't have to be scared. You're perfectly safe.
To me, I guess sleep was like death because it was an escape. And when Dr. Wilbur woke me up, it scared me to death.
Billy and other 9 people, they were just raised with a rod of iron. Go to Athens Mental Health Center for treatment under Dr. David Call.
My first impression was that of a frightened young fellow, seemed to be ill at ease.
Who discovers 13 more of them.
I had a feeling this might happen. This carboxyl group sometimes causes problems.
We trusted you.
That's not bipolar already. Give me a calculator polar. Milligan skyrockets, front pages, primetime specials, talk show invites galore. I am just a peasant. In my apartment, for example, a party of 24 people won't fit and that's it. But he doesn't even need to go anywhere. He's already gone. Billy buys a car for use during his leaves. What leaves? In Athens Mental Health Center, he had an opportunity to leave for New York, Hollywood, various TV programs, and likewise. Later, he'd be allowed to visit the hospital on a come-and-go basis while living on his farm. The locals, enraged, were not exactly lining up to be neighbors with a criminal whose internal committee included a rapist. He's got 24 personalities. The proof he's got, though, is only for 3 kidnappings. He's shipped to a new facility where a conclusion he's putting on a show is made by his new psychiatrist, Dr. Louis Linder at Lima State Hospital. Psychiatry in the 1980s used proven but ineffective methods. Shock therapy, drowning, truth serums, transorbital lobotomy. The vibe was straight out of Outlast, and yes, Billy was lined up to experience the full gameplay, minus the controller. I'm not the one who raped those women. It's complicated. I'm Adelana. I claim full responsibility. He got here. Yugoslavian, so I have nothing to do with it. Okay, guys, hold up. I'm the newest entity. I'm called the Teacher. I'm like the sum of all the personalities. The Teacher needs to be studied. Right here, he seems to have been rescued by saviors none other than Batman, St. Nicholas, or Barack Obama. Milligan lawyers happen to clinch the victory, so he ends up transferred back to the minimal security prison under
Dr. David Call,
where his well-being clearly started showing improvements. Shocking how that works when you leave people where they belong. I'm not even joking. The author, Daniel Keyes, the only person Billy was willing to communicate with, himself says in a preface.
When the question of writing the book came up, I was still doubtful and treated it skeptically. But when Billy said he remembered almost nothing of what had happened, I realized it was pointless. How can one get information from someone with amnesia? It's a freaking dead end, isn't it? Who could have been prepared to what was coming? The very next day, Billy reported that all his personalities
fused and became the Teacher.
His name is the Teacher who remembers everything and is ready to cooperate.
Well, one personality, that's completely normal. In 1988, he's officially declared fully healthy. A dodged prison, leisure points, paparazzi flashing, a bestseller in the bag, not a vegetable but a full mental reboot. Dr. Wilbur turned out to be right. Milligan relocates to California to open his own film production company. He even collaborated with none other than James Cameron, the latter, on top of that, floating the idea of turning Milligan's life into a movie. If that wasn't surreal enough. Alright, stop. Cameron is busy with Terminator 2 and shelves the filming. Suddenly comes, you straight up recovered, haven't you? Cue some heart attack bills. For instance, $120,000. Finally, I've managed to crawl out of this hellscape.
What's up with the pay?
Aloha, this Jamie. Hand over the mills I need now. Please. In his place, just slap VFXs here and there. Everywhere. No need to bother coming up with a storyline, let alone a script. Having slumped into depression, he sues Cameron, with time waves the white flag to bankruptcy, embraces mundane life, and dies in 2014 at a nursing home. Now that I've brought you up to speed, I'll try to look at this analytically. Dust instead of peer-reviewed studies, blank entries in medical journal articles, intellectual quicksand in every reputable source to stand against.
All right, I'm checking to see if WebMD can help us, Stewie. Okay, here it is. Multiple personality disorder. See also Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Mystique mysticism. I know more about Annabelle the doll's personal life than about such a well-known case as Billy Milligan's. So you get the picture. On Wikipedia, the sources section lists Daniel Keyes' books. The notes section just retells the story, again citing the book, and also references film adaptation of that book. The papyrus is non-fiction, though Daniel Keyes is a fiction scribe. Though the genre is true crime, documentary section, yet it's a novel, but recounts real story, true events. Basically, I see no reason why we cannot not trust this Schrodinger's biography.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
It details people living inside Billy.
Well, Arthur, the Englishman, is a brilliant student of medicine and chemistry. He has the ability to write Arabic.
Karate Man, Regan Vadaskanovic, chats in Serbo-Croatian. Combined, the roaster plays the full variety of musical instruments, probably Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Tchaikovsky. The rapes! All carried out by a bashful, lonely, introverted 19 years old because she's a lesbian. So far, everything checks out. Твоя мама, я bounce back, super shot on this fucking bar.
Wait, don't play, don't start yet.
Now?
There is a speck on the lens.
Second take in a row already? World, forget my brilliance, I'm done with any recordings for good. Imagine you've got a regular Joe standing there.
Well, hello there. My name's April. Fancy to play with me?
If you don't have a bodyguard, you are a bodyguard. Plus there is uncanny music playing as a background track. That's something. One more moment. When people are born, they get a name.
Sometimes it gets frustrating because they gotta call your name 2 or 3 times and you're not paying any attention to what they're saying. Then it's, oh yeah, I'm Billy.
The point is when you go, my name is freaking Max, you imply that other people assigned you that name. What game dev hands out names to other personalities at their arrival? DID personalities should share a single name, shouldn't they?
It still bugs me when they call me Billy, but I don't say much. I don't say anything really. I'm not Billy.
Dr. Francis C. Howland broke down the mechanism of DID. Picture you get abused by your loved one. A Rubik's Cube got 43 quintillion routes. You, only 2. Fight or flight. Almost always it's the child that can do neither, right? Wrong. A child can't escape through this dissociation.
Stewie? Buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. How you feeling after the, incident?
I have no idea to what you're referring.
You mean you don't remember?
Leave Stewie alone. I'm Mrs. Padbury Wilkerson.
Could what you saw in Peter and Lois's bedroom have been that traumatizing?
Kermit the Frog here to smooth over some confusing images with rainbows.
Stewie, I think your psyche fractured into multiple personalities.
As early as the 1980s, Dr. Frank Putnam at the National Institute of Mental Health was running multiple studies on this subject, specifically measurements with an electroencephalogram, or EEG, which puts sensors on the scalp to pick up minute voltage shifts. Delta waves 0.5 to 4 hertzes, aka cycles per second, mark deep, dreamless sleep. To give an example, I myself am fiddling with your voltage dashboard right now. EEG readings bounce around on emotions, attention, mental states, memory recall, imagination, role enactment, stress, fatigue, eye movement. You'd expect that if someone's personalities were switching, an EEG would go fireworks since emotions, memories, every freaking thing on that list changes. Studies by researchers Anno van der Hart and Allard Magenhaus show that trauma-driven dissociation often goes along with altered threat processing networks. Reduced amygdala volume, reduced hippocampal volume, shifts in insular regulation. At the blueprint level, if a DID patient shows brain changes similar to those of severe trauma survivors, it at least backs the trauma model.
Plot thickens.
Trauma itself can account for the same measure of evidence anyway. Many problems remain. For instance, to this trusty old trauma model, psychiatrists like to attribute just about everything.
What do you think, Doctor?
Your son is suffering from severe dementia. This is usually a sign of schizophrenia brought on by some tragic event in the child's past.
Thus, DID, according to the American Psychiatric Association, is a clinical diagnosis, like when you're self-reporting talking to a psychologist. Yeah, by the way, recently they made a TV series from the canonical book. Billy Milligan is played by Spider-Man. It's a shame Tom wasn't up for an Oscar. He could have carried home 24 statues. Let me tell you a true story that slips everyone's mind whenever Billy Milligan's name pops up. In the late 19th century, the French neurologist Jean-Martin Charcot, who every medical student knows, discovered a new disease called hystericoepilepsy. He had a brilliant career. Even Sigmund Freud came to study under him. That's next level badass. Charcot was very fond of parading his patients around. Watch closely how they suffer. I've shown you this disease. Tattoo it on your frontal lobe and never forget.
One of his students was some skeptically minded young Joseph Babinski. Over time, the two names always stood side by side.
Babinski managed to have these patients scattered to separate wards and handed fresh-faced doctors who in turn played it cool and straight up looked past the fits. You get what I'm driving at? They got well. Even the great Charcot acknowledged that he wrongfully came to believe and instilled a non-existent disease into his patients without himself realizing it. Iatrogenic. This is how worsening of a patient's health due to a doctor's inadvertent suggestion is known as these days. Certain big-name experts line up precisely behind this take on multiple personalities, such as Dr. Paul McHugh, University Distinguished Service Professor of Psychiatry at Johns Hopkins. He draws a parallel between them and the late 17th century Salem witch hysteria. Why was this just another Tuesday in New England? Because everyone without question believed in it. Everyone kept gossiping about witches, essentially encouraging the very idea of their existence. And now what? If a brother gonna claim a crime has been committed on the will of a witch? A sentence immediately. Some kind of crap. Drabness.
Boring.
Lucky us, he can point and shrug. Nah, that's the other guy who freaked everything up. Yes, in me. Nope, not me. Dr. McHugh says that as long as you keep spinning that carousel, special snowflakes will pop up in goddamn millions in the collective consciousness. Prior to 1964, the Global Psychiatric Association possessed maybe 6 vaguely similar-ish cases on record. In the 50s, the 3 Faces of Eve hit the screen, later Sybil under Dr. Cornelia Wilbur.
Private Shrinks received them positively.
Ultimately, in 1980, the still unproven disorder waltzed into the DSM-3. What followed was an epidemic with over 40,000 diagnoses in the US.
I think we should take him off the drug.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You can't just go off focusing.
But we can ease Bart onto one of its sister drugs like chlorhexanol and augment that with some phenylbutamine.
And maybe some cyclobenzenone?
That's a great idea.
The method of treating personality fragmentation, as Dr. Cornelia Wilbur did with Sybil 16 once, relies on recovered memories being merged back into a single entity. As a rule, people with this disorder eventually discover that at least their parents have sexually abused them in their childhood.
All right, Butters, just try to relax. Doing just fine, Butters. Just stay perfectly still now, Butters. Good, you're gonna feel a little pinch now, Butters. Don't worry, Mr. Stotch. Whatever traumatized your son in his past, we'll find it.
How these long-forgotten memories are long-forgotten memories, I can't tell you that, but this is exactly about Billy Milligan. It's spilled out during his session with Dr. David Call.
Billy's a pretty messed up kid. He was molested by his uncles.
Once trauma surfaced, naturally lawsuits would follow and families fell apart. However, in 85 and 93, the American Psychiatric Association crashed the fund. If a memory isn't yours and is being suggested to you, don't believe it, it's likely false. Everything turned 180 degrees. Losses rained down on phony shrimps. In 1997, an incident occurred that I can only describe as completely freaked up. After severe postpartum depression, Patricia Burgess got committed to the St. Luke's Medical Center in Chicago. Nobody on this planet will ever guess what they unearthed in her over 2 years. Additional personalities. As many as Billy? Please, Billy ain't shit compared to her. 300 personalities have been in this Wonder Woman, plus buried memories. Holy smokes, what memories. Turns out she was sexually abused as a kid, joined a cult, went Hannibal Lecter, then forgot it. But the climax is coming in 5 seconds. Doctors examined her children too and discovered bonus personalities! Some freaking Cirque du Soleil.
Pleasure. Hello. I've got 3 personalities. How about you?
I've got 303. What a worthless loser you are! Over time, Patricia Burgess sure got it that psychotropic drugs and doctors' influence had royally freaked her over.
You have people living inside your head.
Really?
Yes, I'm afraid you're a little sick, but it's okay. Now, what are the things that make you happy, Butters? What's the matter, Butters? Are you still with us? Is one of your other personalities trying to take over?
She won a lawsuit for $10 million against the hospital for malpractice, and their units studying this odd disease were shut the hell down, with the disorder being renamed to what it's known now. Professor Christopher Borton sent the US Congress a letter signed by over 30 top psychologists calling recovered memory therapy a money-driven scam that destroys families.
Y'all mind if I record this for teaching purposes or whatever?
Well, it's not something a proper lady is used to talking about, but I believe it was something he saw. What's the big deal? It's just sex. This is ridiculous.
I find the best thing to do with multiple personalities is to summon them all and let them work out their differences.
So, what's so unique about Billy's memories? Paul Miskman, for example, used this disorder to strangle his wife. The first case in such a grave crime was excused on the basis of a dubious illness, recognized by a minority of psychiatrists. A condition that in non-Western EU countries, China, Russia simply doesn't exist. But it's not always like that. In 1999, rapist William Green tried the same. The court decided not to excuse him as this disorder, to put it mildly, controversial. Green naturally didn't win any controversy, so he decided to appeal the decision. The case went to the Supreme Court, which upheld the verdict. A 90s study at the DID Peak showed that fewer than 1/3 of established psychiatrists accepted this disorder as valid. In another fresh study, a group of DID-ish patients needed to press a button as soon as an unfamiliar word showed up on the screen. What researchers highlight, when there was something as a best friend's name, within moments they millisecondly hesitated. However, clocked it's not on a target list, eventually given the right answer. Take a look, will ya? It's all documented. Is the go-to counter-argument. Fine, actually, let's take a look. The thickest of all time are Christine Sizemore, Sybil, and Billy Milligan. Let's go in order. 1950, Chris Sizemore tries to harm her child, and the clinic says it's because 2 personalities control her. Doctors, in turn, identify 20 personalities. Overall, classic. Pull up your chair, woman. Time for a miracle cure. Bring in the electroshock cables. Well, why jump ahead of ourselves? Maybe, I don't know, try a quiet nap? Such a modification of treatment didn't indeed hurt anyone. Her 2 own psychiatrists sat down to write the iconic 3 Faces of Eve, even got Hollywood to make a movie. Suddenly, Chris Sizemore finds out Hollywood has already made a movie. Unbearable! Nobody pays her! She sues Fox, pens her own book,
towards America giving lectures. Christine, but your sufferings. 1979 brought the ultimate kicker, the capture of the Hillside Stranglers, 2 serial killers who got their own flick. Kenneth B. Yankee invoked the Miranda law to remain silent, and to a psychiatrist. Doc, it's as simple as rolling off log. I got a second personality as Steve Walker. Hi, my name's Steve Walker. I murdered everybody. The man's point is worth hearing. After all, Billy Milligan has the same disease. Who has it nowadays, right? The lead psychiatrist on the case, Martin Orne, weighs in. You see, by the textbook, a proper understanding of this disorder requires a minimum of 3 personalities. It sure is really unfortunate to have 2. It just, you know, if it were 3, it'd be for sure all good. You'd definitely walk free. Well, since of course you have 2. Yeah, it sure is a shame. It's just if there were 3, it'd be completely different. Like that, with 2. I've got a second personality, plus 1 spare. My name is Billy, God of Thunder. Actually, why not pick the name of the most famous man with this superpower? Kenneth B. Yankee got locked up. At his home were found books on modern psychology detailing cases of the very disorder he'd claimed. Meanwhile, the original was in the hospital, doing what people usually do in a hospital, in a beret and a scarf, with a palette, dabbing away at canvases. One of him had received a gift for art. Crowds drawn to his exhibitions looking, gosh, good heavens, Michelangelo, Renaissance, Baroque, Neoclassicism. I desperately need a diploma to catch up. Excuse me, are you Billy Milligan? The one who preys mostly on defenseless girls, not men, which, being a fair choice, could paint the neighborhood with your guts. Create me a painting, please. Oh my god, I love you. One of your handmaids is a prodigy. Such talent. Gold. Either way, I'll be able to sell it for a crazy amount of money. Godlike. The last is Shirley Mason, whose name stayed in the shadows for a decade after Sybil hit the shelves. A young woman with hysterical flare-ups seeks help from Dr. Cornelia Wilbur, who identifies 16 distinct ones. It's then when it gets revealed, being a kid, on default there was sexual abuse.
Well, Dr. Janus? I'm afraid I have some bad news. Your son is suffering from multiple personality disorder.
Oh my god!
From what I gather, he seems to mostly jump in and out of personalities when he's outside playing. Sometimes he's a cowboy, and other times he's an Indian. And the two seem to be at constant odds. Doctor, what can we do? Should we ground him? No, I don't think grounding him would do much good at this point. What your son needs now is lots of tender, loving medication. Heavy medication.
During 11 years of analysis, we now know Dr. Cornelia Wilbur got hit with an inspiration. Together, they narrate Shirley Mason's story using pseudonym Sybil, a true story thriller, intriguing. So is the interview with Dr. Herbert Spiegel, by whose account in therapy Shirley would lean in, "Who would you like me to be at this moment?" When one condition is that personalities are assumed involuntarily. Otherwise, how the hell are they separate personalities? Thus, it's less the disorder, more some gamification, especially on their site Mets. They want this Dr. Spiegel to pitch in on their book venture. However, he, one way or another, doesn't seem to play his role, since she isn't even ill, and he doesn't get it. You what? Seriously don't get why this whole shit pile of shit is needed? People won't be pouring money into our story. What's trending right now, Bald Morin? Multiple personalities, that's what. After that, Shirley Mason came out and did what fueled even more books. Admitted she fabricated the alters.
I just thought it was one of your other personalities trying to get in.
Oh, come on, you think multiple personality disorder is real? I've been using that to scam this town for 7 years.
Dr. Cornelia Wilbur, unfortunately, had already cashed in big. Fame invites royalties. Incidentally, in the very beginning, she diagnosed Billy with DID in only 20 minutes.
Who am I talking to?
Dan.
Oh. How old are you?
14.
What about Dr. Call? Someone might have just found his civil.
I presume that he was under the assumption he was coming to see a physician, not a psychiatrist. Never met it before. Why should she want it now? I just feel so damn guilty.
Because he surely knew he was going to be featured as a star therapist in Daniel Keyes' books.
Our job is to take as intelligent a guess. Make no mistake about it.
Even then, how seriously do you want me to take DID specialist discoveries when some of these authors will have an aim to deceive the therapist? Others are constantly growing, splitting, freezing in age, reproducing, coalescing, shapeshifting, going into hibernation. That is, the number of invincible personalities, egos, identities, fragments, alters, states, or the like is limited by the therapist's energy and zeal, with his or her idiosyncratic sense of what counts as a personality. The word personality, thus, comes to mean nothing. Is the extent a person is aware of these forms of self-perception different from delirium, dementia, sober personality, drunk personality? Notably, they genuinely don't know what the other did. If yes, then should Billy have gotten shot? It's mass murder. Serial killings. Well, and the last one I haven't covered in this story is the writer. His guidance in teaming up with Billy is a solid A.
Hey, can you hear me? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. NFTs are gonna blow up. You should really get in now because they're really the future.
Why would I invest in digital good? You can't even, stupid.
That's what the critics are saying. But see, they don't understand.
No. It's gone. My savings, my house. But I have this little green panda bear on a skateboard.
Arthur's friendship with his fellow Arab inmates. During that entire time in Athens, Regan had to flip back out immediately. There were Czech psychiatrist Walter Knapp, who speaks Serbo-Croatian.
You do?
You left your dirty dishes in the sink. It's disgusting. So I did half, and I left the other half for you. Oh, forget it. You'll just do it wrong. I'll wash it myself.
Okay.
Oh, my God, Peter, come look at the newspaper.
What?
Jan Itta. She passed away yesterday. What are you freaking out about? You didn't even know her. You and the guys killed and buried a man?
Yeah, I knew you'd find out.
Find out what? I just got David Sedaris' new book, You and the Guys Killed and Buried a Man. They found a body of a war hero down by the old asylum.
Okay, that has to be something.
Sorry, Peter. I'm just singing along with this old John Mellencamp song.
They went up there to write a movie.
Daniel Keyes won this case. He managed to make it into a runaway commercial success. Millions of his other books also sold, such as Flowers for Algernon, a frank sci-fi about miraculous drugs available in bookstores. The last time I paid a visit, the puzzle in my head finally came together. The Fifth Sally, written months before the whole Milligan saga. You know what it's about? Listen up. About 4 people that live in the body of one girl, Sally, and her therapy with a psychiatrist who merges them into one superordinate personality. The fellow got some unhealthy predilection for this. read, explore beyond me to build your conclusions about Billy Milligan. Because I've come to the conclusion he was straight up possessed by demons. I want to believe a diagnosis is right, but believing is hard. Rate the video and tell your other personalities too. Though, hang on. That makes it you all share the same account for all of you anyway. Alright, doesn't matter. A post-credit scene for those who followed closely but didn't get shit. Let's call it a guide for dummies. Follow closely. Viral trends so easily found. Maybe Billy's just playing around the character scum who indulge in maybe for fun. Dogs understand there's deity season, maybe there is, but maybe there isn't, since personalities can be sorted with luck. Only writers don't give a duck. Stranglers, robbers, junkies, schizos, burglars, sluts, kidnappers, weirdos, swindlers, whores, rebels, extortionists, of those who lack morals list. No mercy given, no exception, even if they got a different perception. Won't dodge no matter what you declare. A lifetime in a cage or the electric chair.